Good morning, and thank you for attending this presentation this morning. I am, for one, am very excited to hear what Mr. Rupert has to say. This presentation is entitled Google AI Studio for Equity-Driven Enrichment Prototypes, and our speaker is Ron Rupert, who is a PhD student in Learning Design and Technology at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. And I just want to give you a few heads up, a little bit of a heads up. We have closed captioning available on this recording. All you have to do is click the icon at the bottom of your Zoom screen or click the More button and it should pop up there. The recording will be available soon and it will be posted to the Peralta Equity Conference YouTube page. And that's it. Take it away.
Amazing. Good morning, I think, for a lot of you. Good afternoon to some. Again, I'm Ron. I'm going to jump right into it since we have a short time together. Go ahead and share my screen. And so, in 45 minutes, we'll identify an equity barrier together as a group. Can everybody see the presentation? Just a thumbs up or anything? Okay, cool. We'll build a working prototype together. And then when you leave, you'll have a template that you can take with you and adapt and modify and use to do this sort of app development on your own, with the goal to extend elite enrichment activities to all. Oh, and so I should mention, again, I'm Ron Rupert, but my faculty advisor is Dr. Yukong Song. She's assistant professor of theory, practice, and teacher education here at the University of Tennessee at Knoxville. So, real quick overview of the agenda. We'll talk, the why is enrichment only tends to benefit the gifted typically. And a lot of students face barriers to those gifted activities. And then AI prototyping can help educators test inclusive supports very quickly. You'll see an equity-focused prototype in action, one that I built. And then together, we'll spend the rest of the time building one live on the spot together. And then we'll kind of reflect on that process and the inclusion practices and feasibility that go along with it. And so, just a real quick 1 minuter on my why. So, my son was chosen to participate in something called the Great Shake in Knoxville, Tennessee. It's a like a regional activity on Ron Clark's Amazing Shake. So, it's a bunch of fifth grade ELA students get together at a school and they compete in these communication activities. And so it was great, thrilled for my son. We're super excited. He had a blast. But what about all of those other fifth graders that didn't get to do this opportunity? Only three from his school got to go, and he's one of about 15 elementary schools in the district. So, large amount of fifth grade students, only a handful get to go do this. And so that really got me looking at that inequity. And so, we're going to just kind of demo the app I built. And let me know if you can't hear the sound. I believe I made it do that, but let me know if you can't hear it once it gets started. Can you hear?
No.
No. Okay, let me change my screen sharing to make sure that you guys can hear the video. Okay. All right, let's try this again. Now it's thinking. So this is Charisma Lab. We're going to go ahead and show you some features of the app. So when you log in, this is the student dashboard. You can do things like all typical apps, you can get in and change like your icon. And then we get into kind of the dashboard of the program itself. And you can see that it has these tabs up here. The first one is experiments, which gives you access to video trials, audio trials, written trials, and you can even make your own trials. The lab guide tab, these are more like educational type modules, if you will, that can teach you some various things about communication. This My Style tab is basically a process to help develop your talent. If you had to do like a 1 minute talent, which is a component of many communication challenges. There's a progress tab, which shows your global proficiency, how you've done on trials, some kind of analysis, this is based on your diagnostic test as well as how you perform on some trials. It's got some operational strengths and strategic growth areas. So you'll kind of see this evolve over time. It has badges so that you can, as you master trials or scenarios, you can earn these badges as well as complete some of the lab guides or create your own different badges or achievements, if you will. And then there's the Master Experiment tab. This unlocks once you have completed or mastered 7 experience in each domain. So 7 video, 7 audio, and 7 written. Then you can advance to the Master Experiment, which is kind of the culminating summative assessment, you will, of this communication. And so within each kind of area, video, these pitches will test your like video cues, so body language, eye contact, facial expression, as well as audio, what you're saying, how you're saying it, tone, inflection, and then as well as like the context of the problem itself. So when you click into a trial, it gives you a lab brief and some helpful context, and then it'll start the experiment. If you've already done an experiment, you can go back and look at that feedback. So I can click in and see how the experiment was scored, what kind of self-feedback you gave, and the feedback that was given to you by the model. Okay, and so I show that because I am not a coder. I'm an educational researcher. I'm a PhD student. I don't develop apps. I don't write code. But I built this, and I built this using a prompt. And we'll get into the prompting a little bit later because we're going to do it together. But with this simple AI prompt right here, plugged into Google AI Studio, it built that entire app for me, including all of the components that I talked about in that video. I have one more video to demonstrate the app, just so you can kind of see a little bit more about what it does, and then we will move on into the meat of us building one together, which is what we want to do. So last little bit of just kind of seeing the app in action. Okay, so I want to demo a few features of the app. The first is this lab guide. These are learning modules that help teach very specific skills. So like in silverware signals, I can learn what the different silverware shapes on a plate mean about whether I like a meal. And so you can read about it, answer a question, you'll advance kind of through the slides, and then you'll enter a discussion with the AI. You'll back and forth a little bit, and then it'll unlock a challenge. So it gives ways for you to like learn some skills that'll kind of help prep you for these communication events. There's video, audio, and written trials. And you can even make your own, where you choose whether you want to make your own video, audio, or written trial. You'll back and forth with the AI some, and it'll spit out that scenario for you to try. Right? So those are some pretty cool features, but we're going to go ahead and jump in and demo a video trial. So you can see when you click into a trial, you have older attempts there with the scores, junior lab assistant. It gives helpful context to the 5th grader. So think about a time you worked hard on a project or helped a friend, and use that to show you are a hard worker. It does tell us here that the subject will open before we respond, so that the AI will start. So at this phase, the student can take a second to gather their thoughts, maybe think of a method of attack for this, because once they hit start experiment, it will go live.
Hi there. Thanks for coming in today. To start off, tell me about a time you had to work with someone who had a different idea than you.
So in a class project, we had to solve a complex math problem. I wanted to start by subtracting a number, and they wanted to start by dividing a number.
That's a common situation. How did you both decide which way to go? What was your approach?
Well, they wanted to ask the teacher, but I thought we should look into our math book and see if we could try to find an example that matched ours so we could see how that one was solved and maybe have a clue on how to attack the problem.
Okay, so you suggested looking for resources for.
Okay, so as you can see, you've got the transcript that kind of is live updated here. I'm going to go ahead and finish. Once you're finished back and forthing with the AI, it is going to process those results. You'll have to do your own self assessment, like one thing I went well, and one thing I could have done better, and whether I think I mastered it or not. I'm going to say unsure. So it actually gave me a 20 out of 24 there. And it gives some strengths by showing how use logic, so suggesting a reason. And so you can kind of see the power of being able to vibe code your way through an app. Um, it goes on to kind of go into detail about how I was able to upload my own rubrics into it, but basically make a fully functioning, robust app that's ready for production. I could try to get this published in the Google Play Store, start charging for it, try to monetize it. I am not going to because the whole point of my goals are to have things open and equitable to all. And so I would only want money enough to power the back end to keep it free for everybody. But enough of me talking. We are going to get together as a group in larger sessions, like 60-minute sessions. We use breakout rooms, but I think in here we can kind of just throw some ideas into the chat. Um, but let's just start by throwing some ideas out there or liking some ideas of an app that you guys want to build right now together. So think of like a problem that we would like to solve or an area where there may be some inequity. This was an example um, from a different conference about building a infographic maker using Gen AI for first year college students. So anybody, everybody got some things you'd like to us to build together really fast? I was a public school educator for 10 to 12 years, so my wait time's impeccable, so I can wait. Anyone have any ideas at all? It could be relevant to what you instruct if you're an instructor or curriculum that you try to design. Nobody? A metamorphic rock ID. All right, let's see. Use AI to help me be a travel advisor. Okay. Yep. Don't be shy. So we're getting AI to help be a travel advisor and metamorphic rock ID. I definitely think it could do both of those things. Um, let's roll with the travel advisor. I think that's kind of an interesting spin on it. So what we need to do is we need to be able to answer these 8 questions right quick. We need to be able to know um, who our target audience is. So who is this um, travel advisor AI app being marketed to, or who's our target audience? Don't be shy, everybody can 45 plus year olds. All right, so 45 plus is our target audience. And the course of subject is a travel advisor. Um, Prior knowledge. So what we mean here is Do we want it to be for experienced travelers or unexperienced travelers, or do we want this to be something that a new couples and singles? Yes. Barbara, let's go. All right. Misconceptions. So these are an area for us to um, think about misconceptions that might happen. So are you talking luxury travel as a misconception or as something else? What about luxury travel might be a misconception, or are there some other misconceptions that we want our app to
I'm
challenge that?
sorry, not a misconception. That was just narrowing the focus of the type of travel.
Okay, narrowing the focus. Awesome. We can do that for luxury travel. And so for like a misconception, we could think that luxury travel has to be expensive, ultra expensive. So we can kind of challenge that misconception that luxury travel is only super expensive. So learning standard, in this example, we don't have a learning standard. So like, for example, the metamorphic rock ID, that's where we would put, like a state standard or a state objective or something. For here, I'll just say for a learning standard, the um, travel advisor guidelines of the US. Um, just so that we have some sort of standard to put in there. So the activity type, what are we wanting this travel advisor to do? To build an itinerary or to plan the whole vacation? We'll just say that. Plan a luxury vacation. So that's its activity type. The triggering event is we input a like a set list of demands. So the customer inputs the desirables of the vacation, and then the student's task or the advisor, the travel advisor's task is to enter the criteria um, requested by the customer. And so, believe it or not, by just answering those 8 questions, which is part of a template that was developed by Dr. Song, we can develop a pretty robust prompt that will allow us to get our app up and running. And so, this is the basic template. Build an activity type educational app for whatever audience, whatever course, all those 8 things that we wrote down. And that comes from Dr. Song's line of thought. I took it one step further and took that template and pasted it into a generative AI prompt so that I could get more information. Because the more specific of a prompt we feed Google AI, the better that it turns out. And so we are going to kind of just start filling in this template real quick and with what we said. So we're going to build a travel advisor app. I'm going to delete educational just for the purpose of this activity for 45 plus humans about luxury travel. The goal is to, comply with US travel expectations. So meet US travel expectations. Uh, the setting is the trigger event, which is where the desired components of vacation are entered. And the AI is a conception that challenges the notion that luxury vacations don't have to be expensive. And then the student's task or the person using the tasks is their job is to enter the criteria requested by the customer. And then it'll provide feedback based on that prior knowledge. And so the prior knowledge in our case here is that this is designed for couples and singles that are 45 years and older. And so we're going to take that and I'm going to show you what we're going to do. So let me switch where I'm sharing here. Oops, wrong one. All right, so this is Google AI Studio. So I'm going to take that prompt that we made and I'm going to post it into my favorite um, generative AI. So let's go chat GPT. It doesn't matter which one, Google Gemini is good, but we post it into here. Uh, and then, oh, I don't want it to be an image. Hold on. Sorry, let's go to a different one. We don't want it to be an image. And let's see what it does. It's going to make us a better prompt for our Google AI Studio. And so what you do is once it's done with its output, we're going to copy this whole thing. And then now what I feed AI Studio will be a little more robust than just our template. So you go to Google AI Studio. It's free to do this vibe coding, and you hit build. And you can learn a little bit more about App Studio, but it is busy building right now. And so we kind of just wait and let it do its thing. And just so we can kind of let you know what we're going to do as it's building the first, basis of our app is once it's done, we're going to try it and play with it and see what happens. And then together we're going to um, talk about what worked about the app and we're going to iterate it. And I can show you how easy the app can be to change. So Google Gemini is working to give us the very basis of our app. Are there any questions why it's doing its thing? It doesn't usually take too long. Okay, well, I'll speak to okay, awesome. I'll speak to the freeness of it. So they have a pretty generous free tier. So basically how AI works, if you're not familiar, when you ping a request to AI, that's called using a token. And certain things require more tokens, like asking it to make a video, a lot of tokens. Asking it to rephrase a paragraph, small amount of tokens. So everything we're doing right now is accounting for our against our daily free limit of tokens, which is about 35,000 free tokens a day. And so you could basically just design your app and change it and edit it and modify it as much as you want until you run out of free that day, and then you can just wait till it resets tomorrow. Would you mind sharing what with you? The structure of like the billing or the website itself? That conversation. Oh, you'd like to see, I'm sorry, what conversation? I'm just a little confused with your question. Like token use, like AI token use? The interface. So, yeah. So I think what we're talking about, um, it's just aistudio.google.com and you paste that prompt that we made, and then it kind of does all this conversation on the back end. So this comes from our output from when we posted it into Google Gemini to make the bigger, more meaty prompt. So let's real quick try the application out. And what's cool is this is all the code that's happening on the back end, and I don't know how to code. I don't know how to develop apps. And so what this does is it gives somebody like me an opportunity to make an app. So let's see what our prompt came up with. It says the gold standard in 45 and over travel. Luxury is not a price tag, it's a standard. And so we launch our desires engine. We choose if we're a single traveler or a couples traveler. Let's go single for today. Where do we want to go? Tropical, temperate, desert, cold. And so it's going to ask us all these questions. Any accessibility needs? Culinary, I want Michelin dining and wine tasting and farm to table. Let's make it hard on this thing. We'll go premium selection. And now we're going to finalize those desires and see what the output is. And so already I can see kind of what we'll need to do, right? So when I'm clicking the finalized desires, nothing's happening, right? So before we get in there, let's check a few other things out. That's the home page. This kind of talks about like it's a design for a travel agent, so we can kind of get some behind the scenes of it. Running a simulation. So there's some things here that we're not quite sure what it does. So I want to show you how we're going to iterate it. So in this chat box, you're going to operate this just like you would any other AI chat environment if you've ever used ChatGPT or Google Gemini. And I'm just going to say, we went through all the selections and clicked the finalize button and nothing happened. We were expecting a travel itinerary or a list of ideas or some sort of output. And you hit go. And that interaction is going to iterate the app. It's going to start thinking and triangulating and adjusting its code and fixing it. And you'll see once it's done iterating, it'll reload this main screen and then we can try again. And while it's doing that thing, um, every iteration counts for tokens, right? So, what I like to do is ask it to do several things at once. That's why I didn't immediately say, "Hey, this button isn't working." We tried a couple of other things. That way, you can kind of handle all your requests at once. But I want you as it's kind of working through this first iteration that I made it do. I want us to think about um, what are some things that worked about Google AI Studio's interpretation of the app we were trying to build. What feels generic? What's missing for real use? What could create exclusion if we didn't change it? What could be very problematic if we didn't change it? I was super happy to see that it asked about accessibility needs when that wasn't something we explicitly threw out there. And so just throw some ideas into the chat, something you'd want to add, something we want to fix or expand on, or kind of any other changes that you would like to see. And just kind of think about that. I don't know that, did you guys hear a chime just now? Yeah. So that chime was Google AI Studio letting me know that it's done making its changes. So keep throwing things into the chat on like what you liked, what you didn't like, what we want to change, that sort of thing. But so we can read what it did. When you click finalize desires, then now the app now automatically calls Gemini to generate a travel strategy. And we kind of get some feedback loop. So let's get into it again and see if that changed. I'm just going to kind of blaze through this real quick so we can see. I'm going to go high value luxury. There we go. So now that button actually does something. So you could see the change in seemingly real time, a few minutes. So we like the weather. We like that the luxury was a standard. So we like that interface. All right, so here's the strategy that it provided. So its interpretation was that the travel agent is the one using this. And then they posted in, and now the travel agent has something that we can present to the customer. Um, and so it's got exclusive access to this Michelin star Alpine residency with a sommelier, like wine tasting. Um, and so it says ready to refine. So let's see what that is. And that ready to refine doesn't seem to do anything, right? So that would be what we would want to do is just keep iterating and improving and fixing the app. And it can go so far as like a total idea rebrand. I could say, let's make it less about teaching the travel agent and more about a tool for people planning travel to use. So nix the mentor feedback aspects and just design an app that spits out a travel plan. And so while it's working on that iteration, what we can do is, um, or I can talk about that here in a minute, is just talk about things you would like to see iterate, or just have some back and forth conversation about what you could see the use case for this. So I want to jump a little bit ahead and then I'll backtrack and talk. So like what are some like reflections? What are some good things about this AI app development? What are some bad things? What are some delta? What are some possible risks? I'd like to get everybody involved and kind of like talking through this and seeing how can this be used in our practice? Because as we're thinking, we've used this. I'm a GRA at a medical simulation center, and so we've used this to help design simulation scenarios. Um, Helps with workload. Yeah, like it's a big workload mitigator, as all AI tools seem to do. Yeah, you don't have to know how to code. Like it's even a step further than vibe coding. Um, And what's cool is if you do have code knowledge, you can let AI Studio build the foundation for you and then export it into GitHub and code your little heart out. And so it can, again, just decrease that workload. Time management. What about some issues? I know we all have to have some opinions, some issues on it. I know you all heard that chime, so we'll go check out what it fixed here in a minute, but I want to talk a little bit more about deltas or possible risks. Reliability of information. Yeah, and we can help mitigate that, right? We can feed it the content knowledge we want it to draw from. So you, in theory, as a travel agent, could make a PDF or a Word doc of your beliefs, your values, the types of trips you plan, the types of um, ideas you want it to pull from, and upload it into Google AI Studio and say, make sure you're taking all this into account when you're making these plans. Let's see. How does it work with accessibility tools? It's a great question. And so, and I would put that as a risk, right? Um, because on the onset, on the initial, it's not going to necessarily natively take those things into account, right? It did a couple things, like it noticed to ask the accessibility question. But we would, as the iterators, probably need to go in and make sure that's an important part for us to include. So make sure that that the accessibility readers can scan the app. Make sure that there are ways for um, text to be read. Read aloud. Make sure that the color schemes are colorblind friendly. Like we would want to go in and add all of those types of accessibility features, and it is capable of doing that. That's a great question and something that you definitely want to make sure that you keep into account. Any other comments? Or we'll jump back over. Oh, here. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's see what it does now. If you recall, I completely changed it. It was like a mentor activity to try to teach travel agents how to design, travel plans. Now it's just a tool to plan trips for people. So this one is one for my wife and I. She doesn't like the cold. We'll go tropical. We'll just be active. And let's say that She sprained wrist. And we want the local stuff in the secret places. Um, Balanced. And let's see what it comes up with as a travel plan for us. And so it handled that pretty well. And since no one else has any other comments, that can be another iteration we try to do is to try to make it more accessibility friendly. Oh, see, and so every once in a while you'll see this error running the code. So I'm just going to head and hit fix that button. And to someone who knows code, this very well may mean something that you can make sense of and try to fix it on your own. And you can go into the code and try to find and fix it yourself. But for someone who's even less than a vibe code, I can do like educational data science coding, but not app development coding. I'm just going to have it fix it for me. Um, and then that way we can see what's going on. And while it's doing that, I'll reload the app and kind of just click around on some things um, to see, if we can add that accessibility language to it. So um, make all the adjustments necessary to make this um, work well with Excel. I'm not going to be able to spell this. Tools. And now in the AI model, junk in, junk out, right? This is not a great prompt for me to do. I probably should have been very explicit with make it colorblind friendly, make it screen reader friendly, make it literally spell out everything I want it to do. Um, but I just want to keep it iterating while we're having our conversation. Because as far as the presentation goes, I'm going to dump these things in the chat, but also, there's a QR code there. If you scan that QR code, um, it will give you access to um, the template. And that template has basically the activity we did together where we're choosing our 8 kind of criteria for our template, as well as a template to plug and play into. Um, and that is open to everybody. So you can access that and use it as you build your own apps. And then just a little bit about myself. Um, I'm in that say yes to everything in the PhD journey. And so if there's anything you ever want to collaborate with, you can reach out to me. This one here is to my website, which is just the super creative ronrupert.com. And you can learn more about the Charisma app that I showed, as well as some of the projects I'm working on that involve the Google AI app. But after that, I believe we have about 7 minutes for some questions. And we can keep iterating. Um, it's kind of up to you all to drive. Um, I would be happy to answer anything you got for me. Let's instead of trying to synthesize it, let's talk, have some open dialogue, and it can be in the chat if you don't want to unmute or if you're unable to unmute. But just like, how could you use an AI app building tool in your current space, whether that be education or whatever the career is that you're currently doing? What are some use cases you can see? Buddy. I guess I broke rule number 1 and I didn't get a chance to get to know you all. Sure, Barbara.
So, Ron, I'm going to show my ignorance. So, this session has been about an app. So, help me understand this concept of an app, because when I think of app, I think about it a little thing on my phone that I click on versus a bot. So help me understand this use of the word app versus a bot?
Yeah, that's a great question. So an app is exactly kind of how you explained it, right? It is something that can be packaged for use in a standalone fashion and um, to do something. It could be a game, right? Like we could use Google AI Studio to make um, a version of Angry Birds that is an app. Like Google AI Studio is an app builder. That's what it does. We could export our luxury travel agent app that we built, and we could, with pretty minimal effort, make it iOS App Store ready, Google Play Store ready. We can deploy it. So, like right now, the app I showed you earlier, that is deployed on my website. A person could go there, launch it, and use it. Um, sort of. It's part of a research study now, so it's kind of blocked up right now. But it is a full functioning app. The bot part, the bot is helping us make the app. The bot is taking our input and interpreting that input and writing the code to make what's in our brain come to life in the form of an application. Um, where my app that I showed earlier kind of gets confusing is I have an AI bot inside my app that the kids are interacting with. So it's kind of like this inception AI within AI within AI. Um, but that is a great distinction to make. And the session, is about AI apps extending elite enrichment experiences to all. And it's so that the idea behind this session or this concept is that I have students who maybe don't get to do things that other students get to do. But I also, as the teacher, don't have time to design the activities to allow them to do that, right? And so, not everybody's in gifted talented, but I could make a gifted and talented app that's going to push kids to answer more difficult problems and appropriately scaffold them to help drag them through knowledge and comprehension into analysis and evaluation and creation. All those things we want to do as teachers, differentiate and enrich and remediate, but we just don't have the time to do. So if you're telling me for 15 minutes of back and forthing with an AI bot, I have an app that I can now point kids to receive those services. That's great. Um, and so I've got a few more moments. So I wanted to slide a couple things in there that I think it's important for people to say, or hear rather, is that if you operate in the free space, then you are operating in Google's benefit, right? So they will use what you're putting in there to train their models. If you open the paid tier, then that no longer is the case. So what I do, I set my apps up on a paid tier. So now nothing that goes into them goes to Google. It's all contained by me. It doesn't train their models. And I just set a very aggressive spend limit for me each month of $1. And so once it hits $1, the app stops working until next month. Unless I go in and approve it and say, um, go ahead and let that happen. Um, I don't know if this iteration made it accessible friendly. We would have to test that. But I did want to point to this table in the last moment. There are some um, production implications that you have to keep in mind if you're wanting to truly make an app, right? Like my app has sign-ins and sign-ons. That adds a layer. That's more tokens, more usage, more deviation away from the free version. If you want to save the data to do anything with to a database to where they can log in on any device, that's going to be more structure, more tokens, more away from that free tier. If you're trying to make money, you're going to have to transfer your code somewhere else, manipulate it, put it on the Play Store, set it up for advertisements, all of that stuff. But if you're just looking for a quick prototype to be able to provide some students some areas of enrichment and remediation that you don't have the time or capacity to give, it's a great solution. And I think that gets me in under time. So if there's any last minute questions, it's great. If not, you can email me, call me, and we can continue our chat.
Thank you so much. This was really fun. I love to see you build this travel agent tool. And now maybe I have another career. Maybe I'll use that. Thank you all for joining us today. This has been a wonderful presentation. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.